Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing all of the information, all of the details, all of the pictures and my thoughts on this upcoming Pat McGrath Bijoux Brilliance for Holiday 2023 collection. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so quick disclaimer, I am slightly moderately bedraggled, okay, because about 35 seconds ago, I was sat in the garden reading a book with a coffee, preparing myself for the school run, when all of a sudden, Pat McGrath just came right out of left field and said, "Look at this." And so, of course, I leapt to my feet. I ran in here and basically whacked a bit of Chanel Water Fresh tint on my face and thought, let's talk about it because I need to. Now, Pat McGrath always comes steaming out of the gate for holiday collections. It's always massive. It's always delightful for those of us who are big Pat McGrath fans. And this year's collection is no exception. It's ginormous. There's a lot of it, and as you may have guessed, I haven't had much time to process, to investigate, to check all of these 500 shade names, etc. So if it does seem at any point during this video like I don't know what I'm talking about, it's because that is in fact the case. But I'm hoping you guys are going to help me out. If you recognize the shade names or anything that sounds familiar to you and you know where it's from, let us know in the comment section. This is going to be a group effort. I need you to help me out. There's a lot to get through. So let's kick it off with the two Mothership Bijoux Brilliance. These are on the website currently as £59. I will just give you a warning, all of the prices I'm going to say in this video are likely to change. Whenever Pat McGrath previews collections on her website, the price always goes up when the products actually launch, and I think what's happening is that she adds the tax on when they launch. So these are probably, all of these prices are probably going to be slightly lower than when the products actually launch, but if you sign up for early access to this collection, you will receive a 10% off discount code. So the difference is probably going to be like £4 or £5. It's going to be half of the tax essentially. So there are two of these Mothership Mega type palettes, but the big difference this year, usually we get those really large eyeshadow palettes with lots of different shades of eyeshadow. This year we're getting 9 eyeshadows and 2 blushes. And we're also getting 2 of these palettes. Typically each year in holiday, what we've got before are those Mothership Megas just full of eyeshadows, and there's usually only 1 each year. They do come in that pretty hefty, thick but cardboard packaging. And let's take a little look at each of these. So first up we have Starstruck Splendor. Now looking at the shade names, Nymphette, one of the blushes, the top blush, that one is definitely an existing permanent blush shade for Pat McGrath. And then Coral Cosmos, which I don't think is a previous existing Pat McGrath shade. It's possible it was in one of the blush duos, but those names were like kind of secretly hidden. I can't see them on the website. So if you know if that one is new or it's re-promoted, please let us know. Nymphette is definitely a permanent existing blush shades. And then we have all of those beautiful eyeshadows. Oh, this one, oh, I think it's beautiful. The greens, I mean greens from Pat McGrath, and we've got quite a nice number of mattes in there as well, 4 shades. I think that is a beautiful little palette. I love that we've got a big mirror in there. I love that we have 2 blush shades. I don't own Nymphette, and you know how I feel about a coral blush. So I think that one might be coming home with me, is what I'm saying. Next up we have Jeweled Temptation, and this one is definitely a little richer all around. Now that one features Desert Venus blush, which is again a permanent existing single blush, and then Desert Amber, which I'm really fully confident as I can be in the confused state I'm currently in, that is a new blush shade, and it looks glorious, right up my street. I have to say this eyeshadow color story is not as much my cup of tea as the first palette, Starstruck Splendor. I think that overall color story is just a little lighter, less rich and intense, and with those greens it's really calling my name, and those sort of neutral transitional shades, it's really calling my name. And I don't own either of those blushes. Jeweled Temptation, I do own Paradise Venus. The eyeshadows are not like screaming to me as much, they're just not as much my cup of tea, but then that Desert Amber blush, but let me just say this, I can't buy that whole palette just for that one blush. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Yes, it is the answer. So I think on first impressions at this moment, Starstruck Splendor is the pick for me. I think it's going to have to be. I think I'm going to have to be happy with that, okay? Because I can't buy Jewel Temptation just for that one blush. I have the other blush. Those eyeshadows are just, I won't use those. So stop it. I'm only getting the one of those. Starstruck Splendor, that's my pick, okay? If you see me buying the other one on launch day, no, you didn't. Now, the only other thing I can really tell you about these palettes, these Bijou Brilliance motherships, is that the blush weights are 8 grams and the eyeshadow 9 grams. Now, is that, I'm gonna have to assume that actually, in fact, those are the totals. So it's 1 gram per eyeshadow pan and 4 grams of blush, because otherwise that's ridiculous. That's ginormous, isn't it? So it's got to be 1 gram per shadow and 4 grams of blush, I would say, which is a pretty decent amount. I mean, that's almost like a full-size blush for some brands, okay? So I'm all right with those amounts. Okay, moving on. We then have 4 Bijou Brilliance Quints, you know how I love to say quints, eyeshadow palettes. There are 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right, 4 of them. So these are 5 pans quints, as I prefer to say. Eyeshadows, varying different colour stories and finishes in each. Price on the website currently is £28. Again, expect that to go up. Now, Pat released 2 of these previously, and I really like them. They're really travel friendly. They're nice and condensed, great for travel, great if you don't have a lot of space, and I really loved the effect that I got with them. I think this is a perfect purchase if you're trying to save money but you want Pat McGrath shadows without Pat McGrath price tags. I think these are really, really nice. I really loved mine. They're 2, were they from the Star Wars collection, I think? And I really enjoyed them. So yeah, these are a great choice if you don't want to spend as much for the larger palette. So let's start off with Bronze Ecstasy. This is really beautiful. It's giving like very much smoky eye. It's not really screaming to me. I think it's kind of reminding me of the cooler tone palette from the Star Wars collection, which I already own and I love. So I don't need this one for sure, but I can appreciate it. You know, that's what I'm saying. We then have Sunset Romance, which also reminds me of the warmer toned quint that we previously had from the Star Wars collection. This is, I mean, as the name suggests, a very romantic, very pretty. I mean, it's got a pink shimmer, but overall the colour story isn't heavily pink, but very, very pretty, very, very wearable. And yeah, definitely a colour story that I am drawn to usually, but I don't know that I need this one. I can't buy this entire collection. Okay, I'm gonna have to be picky. I don't know. This one, I'm a little on the fence. It is a colour story. I really like the look of those mattes as well in there and the range of shimmers. We need the swatches. The swatches aren't up on the website yet, but they usually follow in a few days, hopefully. Next up, we have Lunar Nightshade. And I think this one is a really interesting colour story because it's kind of like the left-hand side of it starts off like quite generic. We've seen these shades from Pat McGrath again, and then it's like a boom. Hello, we've got some greeny blue shades in there, which makes it really interesting. I think that's a really interesting combo. You've only got 1 matte by the looks of it in there, and then you've got 4 shimmers of varying intensities, and that looks like, I mean, that is going to be a really stunning color story, and it is quite different. Not really my usual cup of tea. You know, I am very boring and basic. I don't know that I would know what to do with this, but again, it's on my maybe pile just because it's something different, especially from Pat McGrath. I haven't really seen a smaller color story like that from her, so that's definitely going on the maybe, on the bench. And finally, we have Bordeaux Bliss. Oh, I mean, here's the pink one. If you were missing pinks from Pat McGrath, I don't know how you would be at this point, but if you are, then here they are. Here they all are in this palette. Doesn't look like we've got any mattes in here, all shimmers. That Ruby Noir shade is frightening me. It reminds me of the lipstick that she did years back, the kit that was like diamondy lips. It was not for me, and that shade is definitely not for me either. This one I'm probably least drawn to just because there's no mattes, and I need a matte. I'm not a matte girl. I'm actually quite a glowy girl typically, but when it comes to eyeshadows I need at least one matte, or I just don't know what to do with myself. So this one's probably, it's probably a no, but oh, some of those shimmers. Mauve Mystique is calling my name. Naked Sunset also calling my name. This is one that I just don't think is necessary for me, but probably would be a good like review purchase for my channel. But yeah, I think for me the picks are definitely Lunar Nightshade because it's the most interesting, I think, and different / unique colour story, and then possibly Sunset Romance just because it's right up my street. The swatches though, when they arrive, could change my mind. They could sway me. Okay, I'm very fickle when it comes to makeup. We've already learned this. So these palettes feature 4 grams of product, and they are very much minis, but they have quite a mini for Pat McGrath price tag as well. So I think they're an excellent choice for a gift, for a stocking filler, or for yourself if you just want to try Pat McGrath, dip a toe in the water of Pat McGrath eyeshadow, but you don't want to like go in at mothership price level. These are, I was really pleased with mine. I really enjoyed them, and I think they're excellent if you have a smaller collection or you're just getting started with the brand, because you're not whacking down £120 off at the gate, you know. We then have 3 bronze, blush and glow trios. Oh, 3. She's just really making all our hopes and Christmas dreams come true right now, isn't she? This is the sort of thing I've been screaming for Pat McGrath for years. An entire face palette with 1 bronze, blush and highlight. So these are priced currently on the website at £40 each, and as I said, there are 3 of them and they kind of increase in depth as you might expect. So first up we have Forever Nude. This features Nude Honey, which is a permanent shade of bronzer. We then have Naked Peony, which I don't know, that's not familiar to me as a blush. I don't think it's an existing permanent shade. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. And then Opal Allure, which again is not familiar to me as a highlight shade, but let me know again in the comment section if I'm wrong. I already own the bronzer in this palette, Nude Honey, which is sad because I like the look of this overall palette. It probably would be a little light for my skin tone, but the blush looks glorious. I do really like Nude Honey, that's the more neutral bronzer, and then Opal Allure looks very pretty, and I'm lured in by the word opal. That makes me think pearlescent, natural glowiness, glorious, just right up my street. So I don't think that's going to be the one for me. Let's move on. Next up we have Nirvana in Bloom, again an existing permanent shade of the bronzer, Bronze Nirvana. We then have Sunset Bloom, which looks glorious, and now I'm feeling better about myself. And then we have Lotus Nectar. I think this is the one for me. I was not a big fan of that bronzer shade. That's the only, it wasn't my favourite. I did prefer Nude Honey. I feel like so often with these sort of palettes, you really wish you could mix and match the shades and like customise it. Just like a lot of us feel like with the Hourglass holiday palettes, I wish they would let us make our own, so we could pick, you know, our finishing powder and pick our blush shades and pick. There's always one that you want the blush out of there and the highlight out of there, and as usual I wish I could do that. But this one I think is the one that's kind of tailored towards my skin tone. That blush looks divine, the highlight looks glorious, and so I can probably for £40 be happy with the fact that I may not use the bronzer. Maybe I could use it on my eyes, or at least I'll tell myself that I'm going to use it on my eyes, but I think we all know that I most likely won't. I'm just lying to myself. And then finally the richest palette is Supernova Siren. I mean, these names are just delightful, aren't they? So we have in this one Burnished Honey, another permanent shade of her bronzer, Midnight Orchid, I think that's a brand new shade, I haven't heard of that one before, and Solar Fantasy. Obviously the bronzer in this palette is much too rich and deep for my skin tone, and Midnight Orchid, I think I'd have to use that very carefully, but that highlighter, Solar Fantasy, I'm just fantasizing about that as a blush on my cheeks. That's what I'm wanting. That's what, like, that's giving me Bridgerton blush palette finish vibes, that glowy gloriousness, that would be a blush on me. And oh gosh, I wish that was a single. Again, I can't buy that palette for that one shade. The bronzer I won't be able to use, and the Midnight Orchid blush is not really my cup of tea and is going to be very rich on me. I'm hankering after that blush, okay, let me tell you. But the pick for me of those, the one that I think is going to be most suited to my skin tone, is going to be Nirvana in Bloom. Those are going to be really popular. Those are going to sell like hotcakes. I'm just telling you. We have been screaming for like new blush shades from Pat McGrath. Her highlighters are glorious, beautiful. And if you haven't already bought the bronzers or tried the bronzers, or maybe you just don't have these shades, these are going to be, I think, the most popular product out of this collection. That's my opinion anyway. And then we have some re-promoted colourful mascaras. These came out, I think, was it the Star Wars collection also? So these colourful shades of her Dark Star mascara formula. So we have 3 shades of mascara. Price on the website currently is £27. We have Renegade Red, which, as you may have guessed it, is red mascara. We have Azure Allure, which is this stunning blue, sort of sea, beautiful sky blue, let's say. And then we have Electric Jade, which is this glorious, like electric green shade. 3 different shades. All of this collection, by the way, everything here is limited edition according to the site. And then there are going to be lots of different sets and kits to save you a bit of money if you're buying a lot of different products, starting off with the entire lot, excluding the mascaras. So all of the palettes, that will set you back £284 plus whatever the additional money is once these prices update. You can buy both of the Mothership Bijou Brilliances together for £96. You can buy all 4 of the Quints at £96, or you can buy duos of the Quints. And then, oh, they do have a kit with including the mascaras as well for £350. There are various other little kits and sets, and all of those sets do save you some money if you want to do that. As I said, on launch day there will be a 10% discount code across your whole order if you sign up for early access, which you can do now on Pat's website, which I will have linked down below. Watch out on launch day. It's usually 9 AM Pacific time, and I have no idea what time that is here, but it's in the afternoon. I think it might be 1 PM, but I will have to check that. But I will always post as soon as it's live. I will post, and I'll post the discount code on my community page here on YouTube and also over on my Instagram, so that you guys can support my affiliate link. And if you haven't received the email, which lots of people don't, you can get the early access code and the discount code, because I don't know that any of this will sell out instantly. I just don't know if that happens that often these days. You just don't see it. Who remembers getting up at like midnight to get the MAC holiday collections? Do you remember those days when everything sold out in 3 minutes and you had to wake up in the middle of the night checking the website to nab yourself some of these products? I think those days are gone, mostly. Thank goodness. But I think the blush bronze highlight trios will be super popular. So you just never know. Who really knows? It's very hard to predict. But yeah, I think for me, I'm definitely going to pick up the lighter of the large Mothership Bijoux. I'm going to pick up a couple of the Quints and at least one of those bronze blush highlight trios to give you guys a super good review. We haven't yet got a launch date confirmed, but I would expect to see that date confirmed in the next couple of days. Typically, Pat gives us, this is what the collection is. Then a few days later, she'll give us the date. And usually that is like a week to 10 days after the date. So I don't know, these could launch as early as a week's time, next Friday. Pat's launches always used to be on a Friday, but recently they've been midweek a couple of times. So I would expect them to be in the next 7 to 10 days. So you can, prepare your bank account, is what I'm saying. Get the products in your head that you really like, that you really love, that you need or want the most. Prioritize. Don't panic buy the whole collection because you didn't prepare your mind. That's the worst mistake we can all make. And finally, as always, remember, you don't have to buy any of this. You don't have to see the hype or buy into a brand that you don't really, really love and really enjoy and get because everybody else is telling you it's really exciting, it's really amazing. 100%. All of these shades from Pat McGrath pretty much already exist in previous collections and in her existing collection. Do not feel pressured to buy all of this or to buy any of it. If you can't afford to, if you don't want to, if you don't see the appeal, it's absolutely fine to skip on these collections because other people are getting excited about it. It doesn't mean that you have to buy it or that you need it. Ultimately, a lot of us can do with never buying makeup ever again in our lives and we'd be set. Okay, so please remember that you don't have to buy it, you don't need any of it, you'll be absolutely fine with the beautiful makeup you already own. This is really a collection for those who want to treat themselves and feel like it's super exciting. That's not going to be everybody, and that is absolutely fine. So I hope that was somewhat helpful. I'm sorry some of the detail might be missing, it might be slightly incorrect, because let me tell you, I was like lying on a sun lounger not 30 minutes ago. So this is all a lot to digest, but please let me know if you know differently to anything I've said in the video. Let us know in the comment section down below as we get more information or anything gets corrected, or we hear of some of these shades that we know have been in previous palettes, etc. I will pin a comment with any new and updated information that might come my way. But thank you so much for watching. I would love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.